Orders meeting, Iola ISD School District. Would you lead the invocation?
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day, and we just thank you for all your many wonderful blessings. Lord, continue to watch over all of our staff and faculty and all here in our district. Lord, we just ask that you continue to keep us safe, be with other districts throughout our nation, Lord, as we all face certain struggles. And I thank you for our community and their support, Lord. Forgive us if we fail you, Lord, and let everything that we say and do tonight be pleasing in your name. These things we ask in your name. Amen.
Okay, we're to the public hearing portion of the potential amendment. Amendment that we're considering for Solar Blue Jay Farms. Turn your mic off. I don't think you, did y'all sign up to speak?
No, sir.
Okay.
Unless you want to hear.
Nobody signed up to speak, but we'll give it a few minutes in case somebody else shows up. And then if nobody shows up, we'll move forward from there. Jeff, are you going to cover this or?
No, it's only somebody else's explanation.
Okay, all right.
And we just kind of tell what it means to us, and we'll do that.
Well, to my understanding anyway,
Yeah.
is really all we're modifying is the timeline for the project. They are adding some battery storage facility, but it does increase the financing for the M&O for the district for about an increase of about $318,000 over what we would have had. So again, it's a positive financial impact to the district, as the initial project was. We'll give it till another 3 minutes or so in case somebody's running late and nobody wants to speak. We will, and you don't have to be signed up to speak now that I think about it, since it's a public hearing. So, anybody?
Well, I did want to say one thing, but this is like a positive thing. I think, I'm not sure which company it was, but they were affiliated with the solar farm, did a contribution towards the food pantry, and I think they also reached out to the local churches to see if any specific families needed help, and I think that needs to be mentioned, because I think that was good for them to contribute towards the community. So.
I'll also add to that, they also contributed $3,000 today to the Iola Christmas Angels that our school puts together. So that was huge.
Yeah.
Do you want to sign in to speak?
Oh, I can speak, sure.
Well, you don't have to
I
speak.
didn't know if there's a sign-in sheet here or over there.
Well, I just moved it in with nobody, but you're welcome to come in and speak.
Sorry for the interruption.
That was good. $3,000?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome.
I saw where they had done the food pantry. That was really nice.
Yeah, I think that's good because contributed back to the community.
Are you going to speak, sir?
Oh, sure.
Okay, here, you get the mic. Sorry, Katie, I forgot about it.
That's okay.
Hi, I'm John Beebe, and I'm with NL and on the Blue Jay Solar Project. And apologies for being a couple minutes late there, but I wasn't quite sure where the meeting was being held at. So I believe y'all are probably more accustomed to dealing with Robert Pena on the Blue Jay Solar Project, and he regrettably was unable to make it today. And I'm just here to answer any questions y'all may have regarding the amendment that's being asked to be made from the school. And that's predominantly my reason for attending today. And be glad to do that. If you have any questions now, I'll be glad to do that. And if you'd like to speak to me after, either way, whatever flows best for y'all. I know y'all have more on your agenda than this. So.
Not
Thanks.
much. Not
Okay.
much. And this part is just a public meeting, so anybody can speak and talk, and we can have a conversation.
Fair enough. Well, thanks for having me, and again, be glad to answer any questions you might have if you do.
Where's the battery storage located?
I haven't seen actually a plan on that. That'd be a better question for Mr. Pena, but that is exactly what's going on here. Is the value of the project's going to be increased based on the battery storage. Originally, this was an acquisition project that our company had made from a third party. At that time, there was no battery component to it, and the addition of the battery component is the reason for the ask on the amendment.
But it's within the reinvestment zone.
It is.
What was your name again?
John.
John. BB.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
If nobody else has any comment, we will adjourn from the public hearing portion of the meeting tonight and then convene in regular open session. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn by Tammy,
I'll second.
second by Alec. Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0. We'll now move to the regular portion of our regular meeting where we'll consider the amendments. So we'll move to item number 3, since nobody signed up to speak in public forum. And that's the discussion of possible action on the amendment to the resolution and findings of fact for the Blue Jay Solar One LLC application. Again, we could, if y'all have any questions, we probably could call on him to explain it possibly a little better than I could.
I do have some questions. I want to make sure that I fully understand what we're doing here. So as it was explained to me, in our original agreement, we limited the value of that property to $20 million. And the project has the right to increase the value there as part of that project. Without our approval, right? I mean, you can make investments there and improve it, and it's part of the $20 million limitation still, right?
I'm not sure I understand your exact question.
We don't have to approve the increased value being part of the limitation. We're approving moving up the payments,
The timeline.
the timeline.
That is my understanding, yes.
That's my thoughts.
So the two options basically is if we approve the amendment, the timeline for the revenue protection payments moves up. We have the additional $368,000 in revenue protection.
It's 318.
Well, we lose one $50,000 payment, yearly payment, so that's where we get down to the 318 net. The value of the $28.8 million goes onto the debt service roll and begins to depreciate and pays full debt service. Does not go on to the M&O rolls because it's part of the limitation. That we've already accepted at the $20 million. So that's if we approve it. If we decline it, we don't get the $368,000. The timeline does not move forward by a year, and it is that $28.8 million is still covered under the $20 million limitation. We're just not getting the extra money or moving up the time frame. Is that accurate?
I'd say that's about as close as I could explain. I think that's right on.
So are you
Now-
saying the action we take on this first one affects the second one?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
You don't, the two solar projects?
No, I'm talking about, we're voting on this first one where we move it up, and then we're voting to amend to,
First
this
one is
next one is
finding
under,
of fact.
behind 5, right, or whatever it is,
Yeah.
behind 4.
Well, we have to do this one first, the
I
finding
know,
of fact
but
first.
this one doesn't have anything to do with our next thing we have to vote on, right? Or it does?
Well, they're joined together. You have to do one to do the other. You have to do this one before you can do the other one. So they're linked,
Has to be two separate.
but they actually have two separate motions.
One is a finding of fact,
Right.
and one is the approval of moving up the time frame, not giving them permission to do the batteries. Because they could do the batteries, my understanding now, even if we said no.
Because of the limitation.
Yeah, it would be covered under the limitation,
The only thing we're looking at is the time frame.
So what is the benefit for moving up the time frame? I mean, if all the facts that I laid out were accurate, why are you guys giving us an extra $368,000 to do something that you could do anyway?
Well, so the extra 368, you said? That's, due to the increase in the value of the project. But whether we could do that anyway, I don't know if we could. I believe that, this does require this approval here of the increase of, in increasing this valuation.
Okay.
Now, I'm not a business developer like Mr. Pena is. I'm in community affairs, so I am certainly glad to, get answers to your questions, but it may take me, a little bit of time to get that done. But this is increasing the value of this project.
Right.
At the end of the day, and there's where that extra money is coming through. But to answer your question of whether we could do it without that approval, I couldn't answer that.
They might could, but they would be subject to taxes, which that's their annual tax on that.
Well, but that was the question that I had before, because if the way I had originally looked at it before I got another explanation was if we said no, their option was to do it without the abatement and pay the full taxes, or not do it, or change their plan. But and that's the biggest question that I would like to make sure that I have clear, is because the two things can't both be true, right? If we decline it and they could already do it and be in the limitation, that's one thing that could be true. Or if we decline it and they have to pay full taxes if they do it, both of them can't be true.
I'm gonna guess they're gonna pay full taxes. Otherwise, why would they come to us?
Well, and that was my original question, because, that changes the way that I look at things depending on which one is accurate.
No, that's correct. We're following state process to go through for a tax incentive to add battery component to the project through the ask on the abatement. And if that was not denied, then it may be rethought. I don't know. I can't answer that question. But that's certainly, you have it correct. If the abatement, if this was denied, then, excuse me, there may be reconsideration of whether that was done, or something else may take place,
Right, you either do it or you don't.
You can do it or you don't. But, at the end of the day, I guess here with this one in particular, which is unusual, where this project is already going in place, is here, it is being constructed, and so this component that we're adding to it, we're running through the process here to ask for the granting of the abatement. It'll increase the value of the project, will be more money for the school, and that's the whole. That's about the. You said it best. I'm already a bit fuzzled up. I'm trying to keep up with you over there, but yeah.
Lucas thought it was a beneficial move for and he's our financial advisor.
So did Chris Grammer when he ran the numbers. That's how we got to the 318 total net. I'll say net.
Trying to go through things in my head real quick. Do we know, or can Chris or anybody that we can call tell us what, if we were not to approve this and they went forward, what the net to the district would be?
Let me see if I got him in my cell phone. No, I got him on my desk.
And then I guess the second question would be if that would affect our formula funding from the state.
It would. I do know that answer. Yes, that goes into your formula fund.
Let me go get him. I'll call him.
What was our tax rate, the overall tax rate we approved?
1.04?
So that times 28.8, that's what their tax bill would be.
That would be the first year.
Yeah.
28 point, yeah.
And then they do depreciate. Yes, they do rapid depreciation on those. I can't remember the tax rate, it says 145.
I think,
417.6.
see, I'm pretty sure it's 1.04.
Now tell me again why moving this up for earlier payments to begin affects the tax for this next one. Why does this affect the next one thing we're gonna vote on as far as the taxes, the tax abatement?
Well, I think that's what we're trying to figure out right now.
I don't get that.
My
Sorry, I don't
understanding
have
is
an answer for you there.
it's a two-step process, is the way I see it.
See, and we really can't even do the 1.04 because they're already going to pay the full, well, here it is, the M&O is 0.872. So that, because they're paying full on debt service.
288.872.
Mm-hmm.
Shows we're worse off there.
Well, that would be 251 starting off and then the depreciated amount after that.
Hey, Chris, this is Jeff Dyer. How you doing, sir?
I'm well.
Hey, we're doing well. We got a couple of questions, see if you can answer these.
Yes, sir.
I got you on speakerphone here in our meeting.
Okay.
Ask your questions for me.
Oh, okay. So I want to make sure that I have what we're doing clear in my head. In this instance, if we vote yes for the abatement, we get the additional revenue protection payment. We move everything up 1 year, so we lose one yearly payment, so we net out at 318 extra revenue protection. And we add the full value of the 28.8 for the first year and then depreciated afterwards for the debt service. And the rest for the M&O is rolled into the existing $20 million limitation.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If we vote no and they move forward with the project, is the full 28.8 taxable at the full rate from the time that they build it and it goes on the rolls?
Yes, sir. If you say no, then we maintain the existing supplemental payment schedule, so we don't lose that year. Any value that they add, that if they do in fact add it, it comes on the tax rolls for M&O and INS purposes and fully taxable.
Okay.
The value is then, so that would be just a standalone piece of property that is taxed, and then whatever property was encompassed in the agreement that the school district entered into last year is the value that we would add in 2023 tax year for the revenue protection payment calculation purposes, which would be the reduced value, not inclusive of this additional property that we're discussing tonight.
Right, what we had approved earlier.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so did you run the numbers of from the 28.8 on the first year to the depreciated value at the 10 years at our full rate, assuming that it stays the same, what the net to the district would be?
With you're saying with the additional value?
Yes, if we did not approve it and they moved forward, what would that net for that 10-year period be?
Oh, of that taxable value?
Yes.
The net under the school finance system would be negligible because of any increased value not subject to a Chapter 313 agreement, just like any other piece of property. What we're doing then at that point is then the state of Texas is reducing funding because your local collections is more appropriately getting you to the wealth per weighted average daily attendance that they've set under the school finance system. And so local values increase, state funding reduces. The state of Texas says thank you for generating more of your revenue locally. If we exceed a wealth per watt level that then results in recapture payments, then that value added of that full $28 million pushes you closer to that threshold than anything above that then results in payments back to the state of Texas if we trigger those recapture payments there. If it's rolled into the Chapter 313 agreement, no additional value is added to the tax rolls for tax purposes, meaning you are no closer with this additional value in hitting that recapture threshold. Also then, although you are not collecting as much on M&O taxes, locally your INS taxes are the same either way because the project's fully taxable with INS tax purposes. Does that answer it a little bit?
Yeah, so I'm going to just put it in my words to make sure I understand it. So that means that in this situation, if we do not approve it, we'll be pretty close to a wash because while we will collect more in taxes on the $28.8 million and the depreciated value afterwards for the 10-year period, we will decrease what we get from the state.
If they come.
Yes, so a wash in terms of additional revenue if we compare those two. If we compare the whole thing, you're at a negative because you are foregoing the revenue protection payment on that increased value. So if we're just, so your first part, if we're just comparing those two scenarios, you're not any better off by adding the value fully to the tax rolls. Your general revenue fund is going to stay the same because you're just going to get more from local, less from the state. But if we compare it to whether you accept this amendment or not, you're going to be, financially speaking, and I'm only speaking to that, the amount of money flowing to the general fund will be less if you do not accept the amendment than it would be if you did.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that explanation. Hold on.
Ms. Mallett had a question about, just kind of why are we approving the finding of facts and then the actual amendment? Is that your question?
Yes, we're voting first to move the payment date up right
Can you
here.
hear her?
We're voting.
Yes, and I think it's so, the vote is to move the amendment is twofold. One, we're shifting the time frame up because unlike almost all of these projects, they were Johnny on the spot and got this thing built. And so they would like to capture that increased taxable value that is anticipated to be in place January 1st of 2022. So we're shifting it up from 23 to 22. They also, as a part of that, want to include additional value. It's the additional value, the inclusion of that really makes this financially attractive for the school district.
Did that answer your question?
Okay. All right, so, yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah, no, sure.
Yes.
Yes, that's
She was asking if you work for us or for them. I said, you work for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the one that run all the financial numbers.
Yeah.
He came up with the payment schedule, all that, every financial number came from Mr. Graham.
Right.
Caldwell Consulting is what they do.
Okay.
So the answer to the question of why they were willing to give us the extra $368,000 is because they wanted to move up the time frame so they didn't have to start paying taxes on the value that's going to come on the roll now because they finished it earlier. That's our inducement to approve this.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a matter.
And in this all, what makes it confusing is touch every aspect of why school finance is confusing, because, as you're sitting there, you go, wait, if we have value and we tax that, shouldn't that just alone, shouldn't that be great for the school district? But the way that it works and with equalized wealth level and everything, it doesn't. The 313 program, what we went through last year for the initial process is the program is established to incentivize this type of development by making it beneficial financially for the school district and the company. Because otherwise, without this program, one of these comes, you get the access for INS, but the state, when they set it up 20 years ago, they wanted to further financially incentivize school districts to do this, to draw this type of development. So they created the whole harmless calculations and the supplemental payments. And it's who takes the hit, then, there's always got to be a loser. There is, it's the state of Texas, but they set that program up that way, to be that way. So, I know a lot of it seems a little confusing as to, wait, why is the company getting a greater benefit and you're saying we're getting a greater benefit too? That doesn't make any sense, because not many things work out that way. But the state of Texas is the one that's absorbing the cost, because that's the way they set up the program.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else got questions for Mr. Grammer? All right. Hey, thank you. Appreciate your time, sir.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
All right, have a good day.
Everybody comfortable with the answers received?
So over time, the state would take away money. Over time, it would be a wash, because the state we would make so much money, the state would take it, they would reduce our payments, right? What we would get from the state.
Because we would be collecting more local
Yes.
tax revenue, yes.
And we're going to keep the scales balanced. Well, if you get more, then they take less.
But if it's under the 313, then we.
That
have
doesn't
to-
figure into the
doesn't-
doesn't figure into calculations.
That's kind of.
I understand that we come out ahead, and that's going to be the deciding factor for me, but here's my issue. I'm not against inducements, I'm not against economic development. But this is and I want to be a good neighbor. You guys are in our community, and we were just talking about what great neighbors y'all have been. But we've got a lot of businesses that are in our community that are good neighbors, that are not getting these kinds of incentives if they decide they want to grow their investment in the community. So had this project already started, it would have been if it was completed, it would have probably been different for me. But since it's still under construction, I think that I can bring myself to it. But if Mallett's wanted to come back to us and say, we're going to triple the size of the restaurant, but I need a tax inducement, we would have said no. If the Steamery wanted to build, a brand new building, we would have said no, for a tax incentive. But because this project is still under construction and not fully developed, I think that it would make all the difference there, because it's a net plus for us financially, and it's still under. But I don't know that if there's anything even in the plans, but I would not, after January when this starts, I would not vote for this kind of thing again.
So the 318 is coming from what we're saving, the early payment. We're getting it there. So we're not actually so what are we getting for the abatement? Are we getting money for that? No.
We're getting the extra debt service tax portion. That 28.8 will come on at year one after they finish the project. If it's valued at 28.8, whatever our debt service portion of the tax rate is, they pay the full freight on that. And then it'll depreciate every year after that, and they'll pay it, down to a percentage. So our debt service, we will collect more in debt service. So our taxpayers, you know, if we set our tax rate for debt service to match what we have to in order to raise the amount we need, that tax rate doesn't have to be as high because we've got an extra $28.8 million beginning. It'll depreciate down, you know. So they're paying full freight on that, just like they are for the $120 million previously.
You also get the hold harmless.
You also get the hold harmless. So we get that, plus the state doesn't reduce our funding because of
That's
it.
the ticket.
Yes.
That last part.
If that was not there, it would be a whole different ballgame. But what they're saving is basically the M&O portion of that tax rate minus the $318,000. Because they wanted it, so they know that it's going to be more than $318,000.
So, Mr. Dyer, that's what you've experienced before in a school district, is having to send back money?
Yes, ma'am. 13 million.
Because you got, so we could be facing the same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
If we
The state
had not
never,
done this.
state never sent us any money. We collect our own taxes and we just send in. And I want to address some of this, and Mr. Pointer's right, but when you use mallets and steamery, they don't qualify under the energy plan for these abatements.
That's true.
So I want to also put that out there.
That's true.
They're coming to us for the abatements because they do qualify for these. I wish we could give everybody that.
And that's true, I should have said something about that. So, I think I'm good.
Make a motion.
You get to read it then.
It's that big old long thing.
That's why everybody's sitting there saying,
Change the date to 12/13
Everybody
while
else
you're
sit
reading it.
over. Okay, I make a motion, move that the board approve the abatement, number one, to agreement for limitation. Am I right?
The resolution and findings, we're on item 3.
Oh, sorry. I
Resolution
skipped one.
and findings.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead one. Sorry. I move the board approve the amendment to resolutions and findings of facts as presented relating to the amended application of Blue Jay Solar Farm 1 LLC for appraisal value limitation on qualified property, that such resolution and findings are presented executed by the board president, Jason Gooch, and a part of the minutes of this meeting and the meeting of November 16th, 2020.
It'll be December 13th. Oh, wait, no, you're right.
Yeah, previous meeting.
That's the previous.
Okay. And 2020 is correct, not 2021?
No, 2020.
Okay. And that Blue Jay Solar 1 LLC's amended application be approved, all in accordance with this Chapter 313 of the Texas Tax Code.
All right, we have a motion. And take the easy road, we have a second. We've already discussed it, but I'll open it up one more time for discussion if there's any question or discussion.
So I'm just still not comfortable with this. Okay, so we're gonna get $313,000, whatever it is, $13,000 for going ahead and doing this, and that's all we're gonna get. If it's a wash,
In-
why
in
not just let
addition.
it be a wash?
This is an addition.
I know, an addition. We're gonna get that.
But in addition to also the $28.8 million on the debt service side, we'll collect that full valuation on the debt service side.
But because it's under 313, it's not looking at, the state's not looking at that.
So since we have two parts of the tax rate, we'll increase taxes on one part. It'll remain exactly the same under what we have on the M&O part as what we already have limited. Plus, we'll get the $313,000 because we'll lose one yearly payment since we're moving it up. It'll be $368 minus the $50. So the net to us is the 0.87. If our tax rate's 1.04, is that right?
Sounds right.
So if the M&O is 0.87 of that, 16.8 cents is our, is our, debt service, so. I mean, it's negligible, we're at about $5,000, and then, it goes down from there, but so, we'll probably end up adding close to 350,000 net by the time the additional taxes. Plus, we forestall being in recapture.
Even if it doesn't put us in recapture, we're getting
Puts us
less
closer.
we're getting less from the state. So
Yes.
we're better off monetarily for doing, financially, as he said, for doing it. You can't slice it any other way. You're gonna be better off. The district is better off, the taxpayers are better off for doing it. Any more questions? Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Item 4, kind of the same discussion, it's just, really don't need a lot more discussion, it's just taking part of the steps we have to do now. We approve the amendment, which again, has to read just like they have it here. But, so entertain a motion.
So moved.
Start reading.
You just don't learn.
I move the board approve the amendment number 1 to the agreement limitation on appraisal value between the district and Blue Jay Solar One LLC as presented, thereby modifying the agreement for limitation on appraisal value dated November 16th, 2020. Texas Comptroller, application number 1490, and authorize the board president, Jason Gooch, and execute the amendment number 1 on behalf of the district and to take such other action as may be required under Chapter 313 of the Texas Code or the comptroller's related rules.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries 6-0. Move to item number 5, TASB Local Policy Manual Update 118.
Just some local policies from TASB. Those are our guys that write all our policies for us. Most of this is just stuff that we already have in place. It's just modifying it and getting it up to date. Any questions, we can look at specific ones.
I didn't see anything that concerned me.
It was mostly legal, wasn't it?
I didn't see anything that was illegal.
So I'm saying, they're just getting it all updated. That way they can bill us.
Right, that's a lot of amendments there.
It is what it is, gotta earn that money.
They're gonna,
I'll move to accept.
Motion by Alec, second by Ms. Mallett.
You don't have to read that one.
No,
Those in
I read it.
favor, raise your
I
hand.
know which ones to.
Oh, you're talking about the,
Motion carries
make a
6-0,
motion.
Tammy.
6-0?
Or you want to go to closed session personnel?
If we could for a few minutes, that would be great.
All right.
Don't make it to a,
We're going to go to closed executive session under 551074 personnel matters at 7:09. Now, we don't have any action coming out of closed session, so I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, no, I made a motion to adjourn.
make a motion and.
I made the motion, I thought
Those
you
in
made
favor,
the motion.
those in favor, raise your hand.
You said it, Jason. I said it.